Successful marriages are made of friendships plus physical attraction. But great marriages are much more than just good looks and great sex. Whether you're married or you're single and ready to mingle, our guests today are going to share 10 need-to-know tips on how to make love, make money, and make it last. Welcome to Havilah and Friends. I'm your host, Havilah Malone, and every week I bring you inside my amazing world of mindfulness teachers, inspirational speakers, business experts, celebrities, and so much more to have the conversations that matter to you. And joining us today is a Hall of Fame speaker, motivational icon, one of the award-winning singers that you know and love, as well as the host of the #1 motivational show on SiriusXM, and his best friend in business and in love, the COO of Willie Jolley International. Please welcome the authors of Make Love, Make Money, and Make It Last, Dr. Willie and Dee Jolley. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Havilah. Such a joy to be on with you. And thank you for that warm and wonderful and kind introduction.
Yes.
And you're right. She's my best friend, and she is also my partner in this effort to try and save 1 million marriages and enhance 1 million more. So we are on a mission to really impact people in relationships and make them stay together.
Happily
together.
Amen to that, happily together. And I remember we were in Dallas and you all were sharing about the book, and you mentioned that, you know, for over 3 decades, you have been managing a business together, managing a family together, raising children, spending approximately 20 hours or so a day together, and all without an argument, like no argument. And I was like, hold up, I need to get that book. So how is this possible? Please.
Everybody's amazed when we tell them that we've been married for going on 34 years and haven't had an argument in over 30 years. And they say, what? And now one lady in Portland, she said, y'all never argued? I said, I didn't say that. I said, we haven't had an argument in 30 years. Those first couple of years were like World War III. But we learned some principles that we used and we employed from some mentors. And we did what they recommended, and it worked. And 30 years later, we were able to put that in a book. 30 some years later, we put that in a book and tell the others what we've learned that can keep them from arguing, but more importantly, can make it happy, loving, exciting, and vivacious.
So you enjoy being together.
Yes.
And you can work together, live together, grow together, which is really what you're doing.
Yes. So the answer is yes, it's true. And we learned these principles and we've employed them. And the book has just become one of our most popular sellers. And it really does deal with the 3 big boulders. It's make love, make money, make it last. And we deal with the big 3 boulders that break up marriages and relationships: sex, money, and communication. Those 3 are the big 3. And when you ask somebody who broke up, it's going to probably fall in one of those 3 somehow, somewhere.
And communication is a common thread because you have to be able to communicate related to money. You need to be able to communicate if you're talking about sex and intimacy.
Everything takes communication.
Absolutely. And speaking of communication, because Dee, in the book you shared about a pivotal moment in your relationship, and it was right after experiencing this layoff, but you talk about how, you know, the presence and the ability to be able to lift your spirits up that your now current husband, Willie Jolley, is able to provide for you. Yes, and then, of course.
So he was my best friend. So you're talking about when I lost my job.
Yes. And so I want you to tell us a little bit about what happened in that instance, because I think it really speaks to a point that you all make heavily in the book about marrying, the importance of marrying your best friend.
So Willie had weaved himself into my life. So we developed a friendship over time. He kind of tore down the barriers of, I am not going to become involved. I am very happy with where I am and what I'm doing. But he made me feel important. He made me feel significant. And he made me laugh. So he slowly weaved himself into my life and became my best friend and moved my parents out of their first place. And when I lost my job that day, and it was snowing, that was the day that the plane went down over the Potomac and it hit the 14th Street Bridge. And I was distraught. I had never lost a job. I didn't want to tell my parents because they would be concerned. They lived in Virginia. I live in DC. And I immediately thought, I got to call my best friend. I need to share this with somebody. And Willie was my best friend. And I said, meet me at my apartment. It was snowing. He slid with his little Volkswagen, but he was sitting in the lobby when I got there. And just the fact that he was willing to be there was enough. And I didn't have to explain all the details. He understood that I was devastated. And we just walked in the snow to the grocery store. And just his presence was enough.
So we want to say to people that chapter number 1 in the book is friends first. People get married for all sorts of reasons, okay? Some people get married because he looked good, she looked good. They get married because they got some money. They get married because I need a green card. They get married for all sorts of reasons. But if you're not really good friends, then it's probably going to be short-lived, because what sustained you through the tough times, what sustains you through the challenging moments, which we all are going to have, and it's your friends. Think about everybody who's listening. Think about who you would say is, that person is my best friend. Everybody got a best friend. Now, that best friend of yours, how did they become your best friend? Was it just time? Well, time probably had some part, but what maintained that time was you met a lot of people at the same time you met them, okay? But there are others didn't sustain the friendship because they weren't able to hang with you. You didn't click on the same frequency. And once you got that person, when you were having trouble, you called them, y'all talked. When things were good, you shared it with them, y'all talked. And even if you didn't agree on something, y'all work through it.
I think it's the nurturing nature. When you're best friends, you really nurture each other.
Yeah.
You encourage each other.
Yep. So best friends.
I love
Friends
that.
first.
Absolutely. And I love that. And especially how that is expressed in that story that you share in the book. And because we do go through really tough times in life, and to be able to have somebody to have that conversation with, that shoulder to cry on, that, ear to listen to an idea, and to be able to build from that kind of foundation into a relationship.
Be judgmental, just to be there. Sometimes you don't have to say something. It's just your presence that makes the difference.
So we really believe that's a big part. Now, step number 2 was what made our marriage successful, is that we made God an equal part of the marriage. So we see marriage as a triangle, which has 3 sides. She has a side, I have a side, and God's at the top. So we run everything through the filter of that relationship with God, so that we would make wise choices and try and have wisdom. Because some stuff going to happen in your life, in your marriage. We had a blended family on top of that. And I brought a daughter to the marriage. And there was time we needed wisdom. Now, what is wisdom? Wisdom is knowing what to do when you don't know what to do, okay? And getting some insights on what's the right choice to make when you're not quite sure. Well, we were able to have that wisdom because of our relationship and our faith.
And we have the same belief system.
Yeah, our faith system.
And so that is very important. We have the same belief system, and we sit under the same teachings.
Right.
So how we would approach the situations are similar, even though related to the blended families, it was very challenging in terms of what I felt like I wanted to do based upon our beliefs and what we knew we needed to do and what I needed to do to help sustain and make it work.
Okay.
I think it's such a great point about a lot of the realities that people have to face even going into relationships, because you may have to face, blending families or personality, differences, values, financial challenges. And so what do you think is the cause of so many difficulties in relationships? Why over the long term, they're not lasting with that unity and love that they first started with?
Well, You just hit it on, because there's stuff that happens. Stuff happens in your marriage, and if you don't have a good foundation, it's like a house that's built on the sand or on a weak foundation. When the hurricanes or the tough times or the challenges or the rock slides come, it starts to crumble. And it's the little cracks that become big cracks over time because they weren't handled effectively. So that's why we start with, you got to be friends. You start that foundation, and you respect each other, you care for each other, and you're in for the long one. Chapter number 3 actually says it, said, decide to make it last.
Let's go back to one point in terms of why relationships crumble. I think that trust is a very important factor there. Trust. What does that mean? We come from, and the difference in cultures, the difference in your backgrounds, the kind of family that you came from, and how you solved and dealt with situations. So, trusting. I had to decide to trust you when you said we have to go get our daughter. I don't know how it's going to work out. Household is going to be chaotic.
Oh, you're giving no resource, no context of what you're talking about.
They need to get the book to get the rest of the context.
No.
And I do want you to share a little bit about that, because I think that was a very powerful. And one of the things I must say that in this book, Dee, you really allowed like the walls to come down. You say like,
isn't she transparent?
oh my goodness, it was so transparent, and I really appreciated that, because as I read these words, like I really felt like, whoa, like I feel where she's coming from, and she's being real about it. I mean, like really real about it. And so yes. And so I do want you to share about the situation, with your daughter, coming back into the home, because I think this is something that a lot of people are dealing with.
I get that now in terms of how I was able to deal with that, because
deal with what?
50% of marriages break up, which means that when they get married again, you're bringing children to the relationship.
All right, so why don't you tell me what happened?
Why don't you give the overall? When we got married,
you see how she pointed at me. You give the overall. Now, when we got married, and then she gonna tell me, hurry up. Okay, so I brought a daughter to the marriage, and she was 10 when we got married, and she and Dee had been friends for a couple
several years, because we had dated for like 4 or 5 years.
They had been friends for a couple years, and everything was good till the day we got married. Then everything shifted. She like flipped upside down.
But then behind the scenes, what you realize is that she no longer felt secure. Right. So we had to be able working through that over time. So
anyway, her mother, it was in North Carolina. We were living in DC. My daughter was with us, and we would take her to school in the morning, pick her up in the afternoon. She was at a magnet school. She got dropped off in the morning by Dee, or I went to pick her up in the afternoon. She's not there. I called Dee, said, did you pick her up? Dee said, no, she's not here. I went in, I said, where is she? And the lady said, oh, her mother came and picked her up from North Carolina. But they didn't tell us. And they did this kind of like,
they conspired
and snuck away, because we wouldn't let her date at 15. We wouldn't let her.
She basically wore a uniform, and we had
and she wanted to
rules.
We had rules, and she wanted to wear a different outfit that we wanted to, different kind of clothing that I didn't think was appropriate. Anyway, so she
was rebelling at her tender age of 15. She was rebelling.
And so she called her mom and said, I don't want to be here no more. They're mean to me because they won't let me date. And so, that's mean. I mean, we just said you can't date yet. You're not mature enough. Anyway, mother comes and absconds with her, takes her back to North Carolina, and so our life changes that day.
I thought that was wonderful.
It's easy, peasy, no drama, all is well, no attitudes, no, all of that, head bobbing, all of that stuff.
So in one day, all the problems.
All of that changed. About a month later, her mom, a little over a month, her mama called from North Carolina and said, you need to come get her. She won't do what I said. She's mean. She's nasty. Got a bad attitude. She won't go to school, da-da-da. And my first response was, what'd you say? What'd you say? Bam! But then I picked up the phone and called her back and said, okay, now that I got that out of my system, you made your bed, lying it, but now that I got that, what's the problem? She told me. I said, okay, I'll get back to you. At that point, I got to go to my best friend and say, here's the situation. We need to go get this child.
I was not feeling that.
She was not feeling it. House was calm, peaceful. But she called her mama. Her mama said,
I called my mama because I figured she would support me and I could commiserate. She did not. And her question was, would you want to be married to a man who didn't do all that he could to take care of his child, to save his child? So what answer are you going to give after that? And on top of it, I needed to go with him to get her.
So that's where that story has context. So she went, we went and got her, we came, brought her back, and she stayed here till she finished high school, then she went on to college. And so it was, but one of those moments in our relationship that was one of not only the challenging moments, but also the triumph moments of building it. So that's why we tell people you got to have trust. She said trust. You've got to have trust that we're going to work through this together, and we end this together. As one of the folks in the book talked about, you look at whatever the challenge is in front of you. You got two ways of looking at it. It's us against me against you on this challenge, or us against the challenge. And together, we're going to handle the challenge together.
So once a decision is made, you have to support the decision.
Right. We all in.
Regardless of how uncomfortable it is.
We all in one decision.
Yes, and to talk about that, the pain, the suffering, I need a break, but you have to support.
Yep.
You have to.
So anyway, that's one of the lessons. Then look, the big three things we talk about in the book. Again, sex, money, communication. That was a communication issue that we had to support each other on. Then there's sex, and a lot of folks won't talk about.
Sex was not an issue.
No, but I'm saying what breaks up marriages is sex.
Sexual issues, whether they just married.
Issues break up marriages.
And it goes to communication too, related to the sexual issues. Sometimes it's a matter of, we
get all sorts of questions. When we do our seminars, speaking of, stop. For 1 second, make sure we let people know, because I don't know.
It was so funny.
I don't know where people are in their time. Monday nights, 9:00 Eastern time, Facebook Live. We answer people's questions, or we deal with an issue, or we talk about a subject matter for half hour. And if we got a guest, it might be an hour. It's free. Facebook Live, 9:00 at Willie.Jolley is the Facebook page. Willie.Jolley. Just want to give that out. Okay, what were we going to say?
And I think that's a great thing to be able to, for follow-ups and people who want to be able to follow you and the work that you're doing, because you're doing tremendous work with being able to help save people's marriages or stop them from not even going into marriages, but making good decisions before they even get to that place.
Yes. We got a chapter, by the way, in the book for single folks.
The last chapter.
Not
yet married.
Not yet married. So you can choose the right one. All right. Because I tell my son, I'm going to tell my children, I tell my grandchildren, I tell everybody, lottie dottie and everybody, the most important decision you ever make next to your faith is who you marry. Because that person's going to be responsible for 90% of your misery or 90% of your joy. So you better choose well. We tell you some actual tests and processes you can use to know if this one is the right one or not. Woo, it's good. JollyMarriage.com. Go get that free chapter. Go get the book. Can't get it at Amazon yet. Anybody buy it at Amazon, you're getting one that you're getting jacked up. Somebody putting their copy after they done read it and been through it 3-4 times. Now they putting it on Amazon. You got to get it from JollyMarriage.com so you can get an autographed copy to you.
Yeah, so make sure that you check them out on JollyMarriage.com. And when you talk about marriage or successful marriages, that they are skill-based. And so you actually, in this book, break down like these 10 tips for building these successful marriages. And so kind of briefly, we can go through like, what are the tips that you have for people that they can start implementing in their lives to make that love, make that money, and make it last?
First of all is mindset. It's a decision. Love is an emotion. Marriage is a decision. You must decide to stay married, because love is emotions change. You know what? Everybody's emotion will change. Sometimes you're happy, sometimes you're not. Sometimes you're mad, sometimes you're not. I mean, I don't know what it is, but emotions change. That's why you got to decide to stay married. As an old man told me when I went up to him, he had been married 50 years, and I said, what's the secret to staying married 50 years? He said, did you say I do? I said, yes, sir. He said, now do.
Whatever.
Well, now you got to do. All right, so that's it. Decide. Communicate, talk to each other, the good, the bad, the ugly. Got to talk about it. You can't hold stuff. Look, nobody is a mind reader.
And then it's also how you talk. That's a whole different thing.
Sweet talk.
Sweet talk.
Sweet talk.
That's what
y'all notice how, here's something, we went to lunch with a couple. They were newly married. And we're doing just like you notice how we cut each other off and jump in and stop each other and bust in and all of that. We were doing that at lunch, and they were like, oh, if one of us did that to the other, we'd be in a big war. Well, you can't talk when I'm talking. But what we do, we yield the floor. We yield the floor, so we don't have to, nobody, hey, I'm talking, you can't. Yield the floor. So just communicate and how you talk. Then leave the drama with your mama. That's chapter number 5. Don't bring the drama that you had it as a child to your marriage. None of that drama works. Reality shows are built on drama, but they don't work. The stonewalling, the hollering, the screaming, I want my way, temper tantrum, it don't work.
But I think it goes further than that, because it goes to you're now creating a new culture. You brought a certain environment that you had grown up in, and I brought a different one.
Yep.
Now, we both came from 2-parent households, but how we executed even some day-to-day things, or how we looked at certain things were different. So then in our Jolley household, we decided how we wanted to approach things a little differently.
That's right. We
even down to having the Christmas tree and all of that.
All the above. A little stuff,
yes,
but makes a big difference. So, and then how are you going to disagree? How are you going to, how do you disagree? People disagree different ways.
Without being disagreeable, and we had to have that experience.
Yeah, how to find what's below the belt, where people say, you shouldn't go there when you have a disagreement with me.
And you need to decide that before the situation happens. That's the best way to do it,
yes.
To prepare.
Don't talk about my mama.
and that really does speak to the whole piece about communication and about having the tough conversations before you go and say I do, and really being able to get into the mind of an individual, understand them, how they operate, how they think, how they act under pressure, how they act in good times, all of those things.
They all play a part, and that's why you got to have time with each other. We talk about the fact how important it is to spend time with each other in the singles
and not
chapter.
Having sex
In the singles chapter. Now we say you got to have a 3-day. We got a 3-day rule, a 5-day rule, and a 30-day rule. Now, the 3-day and 5-day is 3 or 5 days away with each other and not sex. Now, why do we say no sex? Because sex clouds everything. When you're having sex, everything, the birds are singing, the birds are tweeting, the sun is shining, even the rain. Everything perfect when it's sex. But when you're away with somebody 3 to 5 days and you're not sexually clouded, then you realize that little thing she did gets on my nerves. Or this little thing he does gets on my nerves. Well, let's talk about it.
Can I tolerate that?
And can I live with it? And can we talk about it? But if you don't have sex, it's all clouded. Then the 30-day is when you're in the same city with each other.
You need to live in the same area.
Yeah,
for
you
at
have
least
to
a
have.
period of time.
Yeah, because we've had so many who dated long distance and then they got married. Well, when they dated, I had one couple we knew. This was years ago. That she lived in D.C. He lived in Chicago. She'd go to Chicago on the weekend to get there Friday. They go out to dinner. Saturday, they go to brunch. Saturday evening, go to theater. Sunday morning, they go to another brunch. And then she'd fly off. What a wonderful life. But when they got married.
They dated
like
all
that.
The time.
And they never lived in the city for the same time, over a month. And so when they finally got married, it was culture shock, because she was expecting to go to dinner out every night and go to the theater and go to brunches every day. And it wasn't like that. Who gonna clean up the house? Who gonna cook the food?
Clothes?
Who gonna wash the clothes? Who gonna, all of that. It could come, and it went south quick, okay? It went down quick. And it was,
So it
there were
seems like
voices
some
in
of
here.
your greatest fantasies could become some of your biggest nightmares, if
That's
not.
right. You got it. I love that.
And you talk about, you shared a really great quote in the book by Dr. Frazier, and it said, hey, you meet and you fall in love, but you stay in love by choice. And so it's a
That's right.
decision.
That's
you
right.
want to
That's
make.
right. That's
And
right.
I want to thank you all so much for coming on today.
You're
And
awesome. You're awesome. Look, we want to give everybody a free chapter. JollyMarriage.com. Go to jollymarriage.com. Jollymarriage.com. Get the book.
That's Jolley.
Yep, Jolly Marriage. And then I'm also encouraging people to go, while you're there, look for my new book, Attitude of Excellence. This is brand new. And we talk about some principles in here that help you become a better person so you can be a better partner with your spouse and your person you're in love with and you're trying to make. So Attitude of Excellence, because you got to work on your attitude in excellence, and in Jolly Marriage. Love you. You look beautiful, by the way. You are so good and good looking. You got it going on, Miss Havilah.
Look great.
thank you so much. And hey, get your attitude right and get your marriage right. And you can do that at jollymarriage.com. And we know that when we share our stories, we get to live, to learn, and love a little bit more. I'm your host, Havilah Malone, and thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Havilah and Friends, where I always want you to be proof of what's possible. Can't wait to see you next week.
Great.